And Adam can't be with us today, our president, but a couple announcements I did want to go over with everybody here on the call or on the meeting with you guys. I'm going to share my screen real quick, and then we'll get to Mike. Just some schedule announcements for you guys. We've got Mike Henn from the Indy 11 here today, and very excited to have him. He's going to be great. We also, can you guys, Indy, can you see the screen okay? Okay. We also, coming up on November 4th, we've got two speakers, one for the Sport Management Club meeting, as we've been doing the first and third Wednesday of every month, is going to be Max Strauss from the Atlanta Hawks. He works in kind of like digital and marketing with them. But also November 4th, and this was just announced today with the Center for Sports Studies, we have a featured speaker every semester, and this semester it's going to be Dr. Robert Philippi from, he's a Senior Associate Commissioner with Conference USA. So that'll be really interesting. You do need to register for that in order to get the Zoom link. So if that's something you're interested in, Nikki's already registered. Please do that at the link here. And then our meeting on Wednesday, November 18th will actually be in person. So Lauren Tate, she's a mental performance coach with Brute Strength. She's going to be here in person. That's going to be in Ford 110. Depending on how many students I think we may get, we may move it. But right now it's going to be in Ford 110. And then make sure Central Michigan University, their SMAC conference, where they have like a hiring fair, and they'll have people that you can actually talk to as far as like speakers and networking events. It's going to be virtual, and that opens up here within 2 weeks. So make sure you're following them on LinkedIn or Twitter, and you'll get the link. All right. So without any further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Mike from the Indy 11. Mike, tell us a little bit about your background and what you do now.
Well, greetings, salutations, and afternoon pleasantries to all. I've been in the sports sales and marketing business for, I'm dating myself, you guys, but for about 35 years. I grew up real quick, little town Richmond, Indiana. It's right on the Ohio-Indiana line, and went to America's finest university, I might note, DePaul University in Greencastle, Indiana, and then worked for the Pacers for 27 years and have been with Indy 11 since the beginning, and was in hockey for a couple of years. So my life, although I've traveled a lot around the country, my life seems to be along a 2-hour path of I-70, if you will, Richmond, Greencastle, and Indianapolis. So, but I have made a career of sports sales and have thoroughly enjoyed it. I've done some and do some adjunct professorial work at Marion University here in Indianapolis. So I enjoy that. I think the classroom is one of the most beautiful places on earth. And I know Brandon is subject to a lot of, high-level sports people for you guys, which is a great benefit. So I had to ask him, if I could come on board, because I'm that lower level guy, but I had to call and ask him if I could come on, because I do feel like I can teach a lot and give a lot of pointers to you guys. I'm big on mentorship. I want you to keep that in mind. Anybody that's on the class today, if I can do anything to help you. And I might quickly note, a lot of what I'm going to talk about, in all honesty, really is field wide, if you will. I could say, raise your hand or tell me who all is interested in sports, getting into the sports field and so on and so forth. But, I was asked to talk a little bit about just interviewing and resumes somewhat and those type of things, and really how you carry yourself, how you come off to folks. Obviously, a pandemic world, if you will, has changed things a little bit. It's changing the trajectory of how you go about a job, but yet a lot of things, stay the same. And I think that's important to note sometimes. You might not be able to get in front of somebody at some point, but here we are at a Zoom call. And that doesn't mean if you're on a business interview on a Zoom call, you still need to carry yourself well. Your posture still needs to look good. Your smile, your eye contact, and all of those type of things need to be in place. So, you know, I'm going to ramble a little bit, but I feel like it's important that there's a lot of points that I want to get through to you guys. So I'd be honest with you, I would take some notes. I do think there's some important things that are going to come out of this. You know, immediately, whether you're interested in sports and whatnot, or whether totally another field, maybe down life's highway, you know, I'd immediately ask everybody, you know, do you volunteer at school or volunteer in your communities? Do you shadow? Do you pick up the phone because one of your parents knows a company executive simply to carry on a phone conversation? There's an entire litany or an entire menu of things you guys can be doing now. You'll notice that I haven't even asked everybody, you know, how many seniors, how many juniors, how many it doesn't matter to me. You know, you're all at different levels, but, or if you're all in one class, what have you, you can never start too early. You do need to, it's a process, and it's making a sale. And by that, that's my world. You know, sports sales has been my love and passion, as I said, for 35 years. Well, guess what? You all might say, well, I don't want to get into sales. I'm not a salesperson. Guess what you are? You're your own product. You're selling yourself, whether it's in an interview or whether it's in a volunteer situation, that type thing. And you need to remember that you're your own product and you're selling yourself, whether you're going to end up being a biologist or work for a sports team or get into a whole nother field. And I think that's important to note. And you have to prepare for all these types of things, you know, and passion needs to go into this, emotion, enthusiasm. These are all important things that are all part of the process. One quick story. Again, I don't kid. I love DePaul University with all my heart, and I had a great experience there, so on and so forth. I will tell you all this. I had okay, here I go, a 2.66 grade point at the end of my freshman year at DePaul. And before you think, well, that's not so bad. That was 133 each semester, thank you very much, adding to 266. So I was on the infamous double secret probation. And they were going to kick me out of the university, but I had such a passion for DePaul, and I just maybe hadn't learned how to study well enough, so on and so forth. But I did a 2-hour filibuster in the middle of the summer in front of 9 DePaul presidents and vice presidents and so on and so forth. And finally they said, you can stay. Because every time somebody tried to talk, I'd jump in on them and keep my conversation going. The moral of that story is if you want something bad enough, you work for it, you plan for it, and you know, fight for your own well-being, those types of things. I do want, if there's a point, and I know, again, I'm doing a lot of talking, I'm doing a lot of talking quick. If there's any time you want to jump in, ask anything, you know, feel free to do so. But I do want to make sure, I guess I'm you know, wanting to make sure I get a lot of content into you guys, and then you can pick out what you in fact want to take forward with you. I do think it's important to note that, you know, you're your own product. Sometimes we do forget about that. I got asked to tell another brief story that, Brandon, someday I'll ask you how you heard that story, but interesting to note, I have interviewed a lot of people and done a lot of internships, but anytime you're in a situation where you are talking to somebody about a potential job or in an interview, whether it's Zoom, whether it's in person, what have you, you need to, again, prepare, be careful what you say. And I had a young lady in, this has been years ago, but a young lady flew in from California to potentially look at a Indiana Pacers ticket sales job. I was the director of ticket sales with the Pacers for many years, and so I was looking for a ticket sales account executive. And one of my initial questions right out of the gate was, after she'd flown in from California, why do you want to become an Indiana Pacers ticket sales representative? And her answer, and write this down. Are you writing it? Nicole, are you writing this down? Alyssa? I'm going to make you take that microphone off, Nicole and Alyssa.
Yes, I will write it down.
Okay, good, solid answer by you.
I will
Alyssa?
write it too.
All right, Lowell. Lowell.
Already writing.
Okay. Well, I'm getting ready to tell you, Lowell, but that's a good,
All right.
solid observation by you. So I asked the question, why do you want to become an Indiana Pacers ticket sales representative? And she said, I want to get in the sports business, so I know I have to start at the bottom somewhere. Now, who wants to chime in? I'm the director of ticket sales. Who wants to chime in about what she potentially might have said wrong there?
Starting at the bottom.
Thank you, Nicole. That's a solid answer by you. You don't have to turn your microphone back off. You can even leave it on for a moment if you'd like, but that's a correct answer by you. You don't tell somebody that they are the leader of a field that's the bottom. Many times you'll hear, and I don't always agree with it, many times though you'll hear that ticket sales is the way to start into the industry. I don't know. I'm not so sure. I've made a career of it. So quite frankly, because I'm big on the revenue side of things. I think revenue-based thinking, no matter what field you're in, how can you bring somebody a dollar bill? How can you bring your own company a dollar, no matter what you do? If you're in community relations, or if you're in advertising or marketing, how can you bring money and you'll be the most successful person in the room? I'll tell you that much. So have a revenue-based thinking mentality. That would be, I would have you write that down, Lowell. Revenue-based mentality. Are you writing that down?
Yes, sir.
Solid answer again by you. And so, again, I talked about this being a process. You need to, it's a personal evaluation exercise. What are your strengths? And what's your plan to develop that in the job, or potentially the going after a job? What are your strengths and how are you developing those? What's your weaknesses and what's your plan to improve upon it? One of the things I taught at Marion was public speaking. Some people would rather die than get up and make a speech in front of a class. But I got news for you, communications and speech. Don't always think of public speaking as being in front of 500 people at a big meeting. Communication and public speaking can be in front of 3 people, 4 people, whatever. So you need to be comfortable with communications. Think about what your friends, again, personal evaluation. What are your friends think of Alyssa Moore? So Alyssa, you ask them and you say, what do you think of me? And you learn some of the things about yourself that you might not see. She just left, didn't she? Uh-oh.
Maybe she'll jump right back on. Maybe she had bad Wi-Fi or something.
All right, good enough. But, you need to make a plan for yourself. And so by asking a lot of your friends and neighbors and whatnot, what they think of you and what their perceived strengths and weaknesses are, will help you going forward. Personality's big. Who feels like they have a good personality? And how can you work on that? What in a job interview or people helping you, the more specific you are. A lot of times if you someday want people's help in working for a particular company, make a list of the places you'd like to work. By just giving me your strengths, your weaknesses, and that type of thing doesn't always help me, but if you give me 25, oh good, Alyssa's back. I thought you got mad at me, Alyssa, and left. But anyway, make a list of 25 places you'd like to work, because chances are I might know somebody there. And I can do a lot better with you and a lot better help if I know specific places. It makes it easier for me. A lot of people don't always have the time just to immediately help Andy out on his job down life's highway. But if you say, here's the 10 places, 20 places I'd like to work, I can help get to work on it right away. And again, I'm bouncing around a little bit, but I feel like this is all important, whether you're, no matter what year you're in or what grade you're in. These are all things that you need to be aware of. What separates you from everybody else? Only one person's going to get a particular job. How can you be unique? How can you be creative? How can you be creative and unique in your answers? You know, a lot of times I'll get, well, you know, what are one of your strengths? Well, I'm a people person. Well, shit. So I'm not. You know, you need to think about what separates you. Sorry, shucks, I meant not the other. But anyway, so you need to think about what separates you guys from the rest of the group. So creative, unique answers sometimes can go a long way. Have people who champion your cause. That's another escalation point from a reference. People say, well, put references down. Okay, that's cool. But people that champion your cause, I mean, that even sounds better. How many would say they have, Andy, do you have anybody that you would say would champion your cause besides maybe a parent or a relative? Take relatives out for a minute.
Like current bosses.
Okay, do you have current okay, there you go. So think about how they can help you. Again, it's a process. It's a team building type of thing.
Mike, let me ask you this. I think you're the perfect person to kind of ask, because you talked about like doing some job shadowing and reaching out and mentorships. That's something I talk with my students about too. You know, they got to get out there and they got to do that and they got to build their network. What would be kind of a good way, or a, you know, like actual process of a student reaching out and actually trying to get a mentor in sport? Because it's one thing for me to tell them you got to do it, but, you know, practically, what might that look like on your side as an actual professional?
Well, I think a couple different things. One, and again, I don't mean to over accolade you, Nicole, but by you reaching out on LinkedIn, for example, that was an extra effort. And now I would, and then come back with detail and say, would you mind if I ask you a few questions? Would you mind if I briefly interviewed you? Would you create a plan? And don't look for me to be the one, although you guys may be thinking I'm doing it now, but don't make me the one that does all the talking. In other words, create what you want to know from me. What's our goal? Is it a mentorship? Is it a, you know, is it what nowadays a shadow could really just be a phone call with a selected number of questions? I think it's you having to reach out, and it goes back to, again, to take, Brandon, your point, where are 10 places you'd like to potentially look at people who could be mentors? And if one of them's the Detroit Pistons, and you say to Brandon, you know, do you know anybody at the Pistons? And Brandon, I can't think of his name, but I know you've got a graduate, don't you, at the Pistons. So you might say, hey, call so-and-so, and maybe he would talk to you. So it's, again, it's about creating a network, but you have to have a plan and goals on what you want to accomplish from this.
Good. And then I really want to open it up to you guys, to the students. I mean, I could keep talking with Mike forever, but I've been through the process of being an undergrad and going through my professional career. So now it's your guys' turn. So we've got a great speaker here. Fire away.
How'd you get your start in sports? You said
funny thing, at DePaul, after the first year, I had to quit playing football because of my, you know, astonishingly great grades that I referred to earlier. So I was on double secret probation. But instead of playing football then, I ended up being the sports director of the radio station. WGRE, Greencastle, Indiana, the home of the DePaul Tigers, everybody. but I ended up being the sportscaster for football and basketball. So I got into opportunities in sports on campus and that type of thing. But I don't have the greatest of stories, Andy, to tell on actually, I kind of blow myself up here, and it also dates myself, but I got the Pacer job basically about 9 months out of school. I had done some radio sales right away out of school, but I answered an ad in the paper. That isn't going to happen anymore. I can tell you that right now. But I answered an ad in the paper, and I honestly think, and then I went into the interview process, but I honestly think that one of the main things that got me the job was that I was humorous throughout the interview. I showed some humor. I showed humor, personality. The guy really liked that. Thought that was really neat, and we ended up bonding during the interview period. And it's one of those deals where you end up saying, well, if I can get 15, 20 minutes with you, and then it ends up being 45 to an hour. But humor can go a long way because not everybody's got a good sense of humor. So I got it by answering an ad in the paper, but I still feel compelled to be able to add all these other things because of all the years of, again, hiring and internships and so on and so forth. Because I'm looking for that type of thing. I'm looking for things, Andy, like you come in and meet in my office and slouch in the chair and look like I'm your 5th appointment of the day, or that you don't really want to be there, or 20 minutes ago, are you yawning at me? Are you, it's appearance. It's a number of different things. And so I feel like but as far as how I got my first job to get in the industry, it's probably not the greatest of stories.
So how are jobs posted now, Mike? Like with new grads, because you said the experience has changed, and obviously it has.
Well,
what are you seeing now?
There's still the Indeeds and in Teamwork Online. I think it's called, Teamwork Consulting, and the different sports organizations, Aspire Group and Learfield and so on and so forth. Those are still there. Now, sometimes they'll say, I think though, it becomes a case where this is where you really have to know people, or you really have to have that opportunity to try and get a hold of people, because so many times you'll also see phone calls, please don't phone call, or what have you. That's why it's important for me, if I know somebody, who at the Pistons, and I can call them direct versus, trying to get a hold. Can I speak to your hiring manager, please? That you're done. You're done if you do that, because you've, number one, called, and number two, it's not a very personal approach. So some of the same things still exist, but interviews might be a little hard to come by, so they may have to be Zoom calls, or they may have to be phone calls. But a lot of things shouldn't change. I'll be honest with you, just because I'm on the phone with you, I don't think that should change your approach. As we talk right now, I'm not talking to you with my head in my lap and having crayons here just because you can't see me. I'm still pretending like you can see me and I can see you, type of thing. I think you need to always, the one thing about the sports business, you are always on the public eye.
Yeah. Good.
So in sports, you are always in the public eye. And so you constantly have to be and know what the right things are to do. So there is merit to some of the things I'm on all the social media stuff, but you also won't necessarily see me, the infamous, you won't see me drinking 5 Little Kings in one, in one shot. So somebody can go, whoa, I wonder if he has an alcohol problem. That type of thing. You do have to be careful on some of the things that you post on your different social media sites.
Well, that's interesting. Let me ask you, as somebody who does some hiring, do you go and do you look through people's social media before you even talk to them if somebody applies for a job?
having just said what I said, Brandon, I probably should say, yeah, I do, but I don't.
Okay.
I might go on LinkedIn. I suppose I'd look up to a little bit of a degree. I'm not going to totally hold it against them, but I think it's something to keep an eye on, because sometimes it can always be that little bit of difference. You know, it'd be surprised when you talk about hiring. I can remember 5 o'clock on a Labor Day weekend, I had a job opening and I was down to 2 people.
Mhm.
And one had their references and one didn't, because they put the infamous upon request. I called the 3 references at 5 o'clock on Friday. Of course, they gave all positives. So I hired that person without even going the other, because they didn't give me the references. So I'm just saying that little things can make a difference. I don't understand the upon request thing. I'm saying if you got 3 references or 2 people that champion your cause, put it with your resume.
Mhm.
Tell your story. If you paid for college, I feel like it should either be in your cover letter or on your resume or something somewhere. And now, again, you need to get creative. We might not be able to do an in-house internship where you literally come to the facility or to the office, but maybe we touch base and I give you 5 projects and we Zoom call once a week, but you do those 5, you know, an externship's what I used to call it. I don't know what to call it now, but you know, you're going to have to, again, the creativity thing is going to have to start shining, because again, it might not work. Is there a dog there, Alyssa?
Yes, this is, sorry, there's a bunch of people yelling outside, but this is my roommate's dog.
Hello,
It's
roommate's dog.
Emotional support animal. We love him.
Very good, solid. I could just tell you were a bit harrowed for a moment.
Yeah.
But, so you just need to get more creative in all this. So I'm a big LinkedIn fan. I won't tell you how many LinkedIn folks I have, but I'm a big LinkedIn person. I think it's important to have contacts and whatnot. And even if I don't necessarily, but maybe they're in the field that I know, and then somebody says, well, do you know anybody at the Pittsburgh Pirates? I may not really know Joe Jones at the Pittsburgh Pirates, but I'm linked in with him. So that means I can ask him a question or say, hey, I know this guy that wears Yankee hats every day, but he's a Pittsburgh Pirate fan and he'd be interested in talking to you. But so you do need to become more creative. And I feel bad because it is a tough time, but think about this too. It's a tough time for those on this side of the aisle too. Mm. Right now, me trying to sell sports things, you know, that's non-essential stuff in life. People have to do gas and food and lodging and mortgage and so on and so forth. Indy 11 tickets, I don't have 42 people flocking out the front door ringing the bell here in the office going, I'm ready to buy my season tickets today. You know, I got to go out and I got to really dig and find it.
So what are you guys able to do right now? Because I think you're in the off season. You guys just finished, right? And are you?
But it's never you move right on, Brandon. You move right on to the new season. We're selling 2021 now. We're taking deposits. We're going to send out a renewal email here in, I don't know, a week, 10 days, whatever. But no, that's the thing that people don't always get a grasp of, is that it's a year-round job. It never quits. It's kind of like the old story of Larry Bird used to shoot 150 to 250 free throws the morning after he got eliminated from the playoffs. I mean, it starts back right away, and you know, maybe we get a day or two to separate. I'm big on that, though. We separate the 2 years. You know, I was off last Thursday and Friday to just get a quick refresher, and then here we are back at it. So no, sports is a year-round job, and again, finding a job, finding the niche you want to be in, setting up the process to find a job all the time. That's a job in its own right of doing that.
Yeah. So what else do you guys got for Mike?
I have a question. So after having quite a few interviews, it can often be discouraging when you don't hear back.
Right.
What do you suggest that we do after we don't hear back from a place? Do you suggest we look somewhere else? Do we email that organization?
First off, I would say, do you have a name everywhere you're talking about?
Like a connection
Let's
there,
use
or
your examples, Nicole. Let's say 10 people, 10 places that you're talking about right now have not gotten back to you, okay? Do you have 10 separate specific names, one at each of those 10 places, or have you sent to Dear Hiring Manager? Tell me about these 10 places or 5, whatever the number, that hasn't called you back or communicated back with you.
I have specific names at 2 of the places. I've only applied to 2 for internships, so I have 2 names at the places that I've applied to.
Okay. Suggest unique content. I would maybe do a couple things here. One, and depending on the depth in which you want those, if those 2 places represent, some area of your dream job, get unique content. Look online, Google. Is there something about, is one of these 2 places, have they just opened up a new satellite office? Have they done something in the community to support United Way? Have they done, and just maybe send an email with that link to that specific, particular unique content and say, congratulations, I saw where you were the #1 philanthropic noted company in the county, or whatever that may be. A unique form of content, Nicole, sometimes can go a long way. You don't hear anything from that, and then maybe the second communication is Cindy Kelly at company.net or whatever it is. You're Cindy. I just wanted to follow up, see if you'd had a chance to evaluate my, again, process. I would say 3 or 4 different forms of content, contacting them. Content, an email, maybe then you pick up the phone as a third point of content. They're going to know your name, and you're not overdoing it. I wouldn't do all that within 24 hours. I'm talking about that over the course of a week to 10 days. They're going to know who you are, remember who you are. You won't have been overbearing. You don't have the job anyhow. So you're not really, and again, I do stress, you don't want to be overbearing. You don't want to get to the point where you blow yourself out because you overdid this. But if you've got more than 2, Nicole, let's say you have 8 and you had 2 names, I would work on coming up with specific names at those other 6 places, just to use an example. So a plan of contact 3 or 4 different ways over the course of 7 or 10, 12 days. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Good. What else?
I was wondering, obviously the pandemic has changed sports dramatically, and as being in charge of ticket sales, how has that affected your job, especially since sports teams in Indianapolis are allowing like limited capacity now?
Right. Couple different things. First off, it results a little bit in what I was touched upon earlier, Lowell, is disposable income, number one. First off, take away percentages, take away, first off, you have to have fans that are allowed to come in. Okay, you got that. Whatever the percentage may be, but you have to have the disposable income to be able to have whatever X percentage purchase those tickets. Now, pandemic seating, if you will, or social distancing that's come out, those terms, the ticket operations folks will come up with that more than I will have to, Lowell. So we sell tickets now in, for lack of a better term, pods. Now, let's say we have a group sale of Trine University Sports Marketing comes to an Indy 11 game, there's 25 people. You won't be able to sit in 3 rows of 8. I realize I've left one out, and the one guy wanted to sit in the 4th row. But anyway, you might have to sit 6 here, 4 within 5 seats and 2 rows over, 6 over here. So you'll be in a similar area, but it won't be all in one group. So yeah, there are some unique challenges. Well, there's no question about it, and it'll continue to be the case because we don't know. There's been they keep talking about this first wave or second wave, and there's going to be a third wave. And I got to tell you, I don't know about waves because it hadn't stopped since it started in March. So I think it's been one big long, one big long thing. I do have to ask, by the way, real quick. I know that we've got 3 or 4 of you, but how many are gonna? And don't worry, I'm not going any which way. How many are gonna vote Tuesday, November 3rd? My birthday, by the way.
I have already sent in my ballot.
Lowell, you voting?
I sent in my ballot earlier this month.
Good. Andy?
I will eventually, yeah.
Nicole?
Yeah, I'm going home to vote.
Where you from?
New Buffalo, Michigan.
Oh, just over the line.
Yep.
We got some people here from, oh shoot, I might even open the door and yell and ask them, but it's somewhere right next to New Buffalo. Alyssa, you voted? You got your turn.
No, I have not voted yet.
Where are you from?
I'm from Pendleton, Indiana.
Oh yeah, the Arabians.
Yep.
See, you also little trivia things. My kids think I'm really, ridiculous sometimes because I'll ask where somebody's from and I'll know the high school nickname and then I'll start a conversation. They think that's kind of creepy, but I don't, because that way we can start a conversation. Where are you from, Andy?
South Bend.
Okay, so let me guess. South Bend, Jackson, Clay. Wait a minute, one of those isn't there anymore. Not Jackson isn't there anymore.
Yeah.
Mishawaka, Penn.
Clay. I went to
Joe.
St.
Where you from?
Joe.
Okay, there you go. Lowell, where are you from?
Waldron.
Or let's see. You're in Shelby County, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, there we go. See, so I try to know a little bit about, everybody, and it kind of has a tendency sometimes to go a long way. But anyway, no, I think everybody should vote and take part in the political process. I think it's a big deal, and it's an important thing. Just as a sidebar note, it's part of about being a citizen in a democracy. But that was my sidebar rant. Don't worry, Brandon. I wasn't going down any rabbit hole or anything. Don't you worry.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely. What other questions everybody have, or am I done, or have I shot over my time, or you tell me?
We'll keep you as long as you want. Usually we limit it to 30, 45 minutes, but we got some time. So if they got more questions, you guys fire away.
I have a question. Do you guys have any internship opportunities available right now?
First off, I have to say something. I've been waiting for that question to be asked for 45 minutes, for God's sake. Put your resume online.
Mm-hmm.
We do every semester. We have about 6 or 8.
Okay.
So online, put your resume, and they'll say, what areas are you interested in?
Mm-hmm.
And somehow, some way, and I'll leave this up to you, how you do it, Alyssa, but you tell them you've met Mike Henn and you met him on a Zoom call, blah, blah, blah. Somehow you figure out a way to get our association in there. And I'm not going to tell you how.
Okay.
And then someday my hope is that our internship coordinator will come to me and go, do you know an Alyssa Moore? And my recall will immediately go to Trine University.
Yeah.
The 3rd or 4th finest university in DePauw's won, so just get over it. But Purdue and Ball State here in the state, I had kids go there, so they got to count for something. So I'll give you 4th.
Okay. Do I just get on like the Indy 11 website, or do I go to like an actual like internship website, or what's the best way to do that?
It's on the Indy 11 website.
Okay.
And a lady named Jordan Mirabli is our internship coordinator.
Okay.
You would probably make sure you had that name correct and then begin to write it down.
Yes.
Yeah, there you go. Now you're writing it down. Okay. All right. Okay, there we go. So that, yeah. So, and again, I think it, I think it boils down to, again, using people. Now you know me, whatever that is or isn't worth. You have a call coming up, and okay, Nicole, where are those 2 or 3 places? If it's in New Buffalo, Michigan, I might not know who they are, but depending on where, I might know those 2 places. You never know. Okay, well, don't jump over yourself with emotional excitement or anything, but it's a possibility I might know them.
I applied to an internship at the Indy Fuel hockey team.
Okay, now we're talking. Call Ben and tell Ben, I'm just going to tell you Ben. Wait a minute. I'll find out Ben's last name. It's spacing me a minute. But just ask for Ben. Tell him Mike Henn told you to call.
I was actually put in contact with the Indy Fuel hockey team by Murray Coyne, who's the president of MC Sports.
Cone, Cohn.
Yeah.
Not coin.
Coyne, yeah.
Cone. Right. That's good. Murray's been around a long time. But Ben's a good man. Ben, and know this about Ben, when you call and you throw this little unique thing in and be excited. I don't know if you've heard this story, but hockey franchises, hockey teams have emergency goalies. They have somebody, like if all the goalies get hurt, they have somebody from the other team or a member of the organization serves as the emergency goaltender. Ben is the Indy Fuel's emergency goaltender. Throw that at him, Nicole. Bet Murray didn't know that. Ha ha, Murray. What's the other place?
I had a phone call with Kevin LeClaire from the Chicago Blackhawks.
Okay.
He said they're not doing internships right now, but he said he would reach out to me if one ever came up. So
what you might do is continue to study, read about the Blackhawks. What are some of their trials and tribulations? Maybe you offer up a project. Maybe they're having, you've read an article and they're having trouble getting people on Tuesday nights at Chicago Stadium. I don't know, but offer up different ways. Okay, so they don't have an internship. Maybe you could volunteer. Maybe you could offer yourself up, like I said, to do a weekly report, or once a month offer up a 1-page something. I wouldn't stop if the Blackhawks are somewhere that you want to be. Okay, they don't have an internship. That's just one no. Think about where you might be able to offer up a unique project. Maybe 5 friends and you'll become the Blackhawks street team. And maybe you'll go hand schedules out downtown Chicago or something. Create your own internship or create your own idea. Did you like that, Alyssa? That was a good idea, I thought. Okay, good.
And just a funny story, kind of to piggyback on what Mike was just saying. I have an advisor here at Trine who wants to get in sport communication, and he was supposed to have an internship with, I think, 1070 The Fan down in Indy this summer, and that fell through. And so, I told him, just go to the athletic department, go talk to the SID, because we've got, 700 sports here at Trine, and we only got 2 SIDs. Like, I know he needs help, and I've never heard of anybody ever turning down free help.
Right.
So he did, he said, I can do all these things. I can do stats, I can do video, I can do all this. He's like, would you be able to carve out an internship for me? And I don't think he got the question out before the guy said yes. So, that's great advice there. People are willing to take your help, but you've got to be a little proactive, as Mike was just talking about. All right. Anything else? Well, we got Mike on the horn. No.
Well, I've really enjoyed this, you guys. I wish there would have been more of you. Not that it's quality over quantity, so don't worry about that. But I just think, again, hopefully you're going to walk away with something or learn something today that you didn't know before, or if I can continue to help you in any way, just again, have a plan or a thought or a question or an idea versus putting it in the hands of whoever you're trying to communicate.
Well, Mike, really, really appreciate you being on, and tell my buddy Dan Drips I said hi down there.
I will do that. I did not know, or maybe I did, but I will tell Dan Drips you said hi. He's a new father, by the way, Brandon.
I just saw that. So how about that? Good for Dan.
All right, Andy, the Yankee Pittsburgh thing. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you there. I've got my. Let's see here. I've got my. Bear with me. I'll let you go. But I got my Reds. I got my Reds hat that you can't see, and I got my Tigers hat that you can't see too, so I can relate. But I'm fans of both. I got to get my camera fixed, doggone it. I just remembered that. I thought you were going to be able to see that.
You can pick a team. I probably have it.
There you go. All right. Well, whatever I can do to help you guys, let me know.
All right. I really appreciate it, Mike. I got a couple more things I got to go through with them, but please feel free to drop off and get back to what you're doing.
All right. Talk to you guys later.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
All right. So yeah, if you guys get a chance, make sure you follow up with Mike on LinkedIn. Great guy, and really appreciate him being with us. Something else I wanted to show, I'm going to share my screen. So I've been talking with this lady from Living Sport, talking with the founder. Her name is Alicia, and they do some interesting stuff. They go overseas on trips, and they're starting to do some domestic trips right now to work in sport. Like, for example, if you go to programs, I'm just going to go to program schedule real quick. Come on. They're doing an experience down at the Super Bowl in Tampa in January. And you can click the full program details and kind of go through it on your own. However, right now, if you go back to programs, go to scholarships, and then this Bill and Sue Monaghan sponsorship, there's a cost associated with this. So for you to go down and work at the Super Bowl and stay there for a few days, you get opportunities to network. You're going to take tours of some places. They've got workshops. They've got all this really, really cool stuff. And it's pretty pricey. It's about $3,200 to do this. And for the Super Bowl, they actually got 2 spots open, and those spots are being held for the scholarship. So if you're interested in this and you want to apply for the scholarship, get that done by Friday. I think they've got a spot open for 1 guy and for 1 lady. So if that's something you're interested in, jump on that. But if you want to see some of the other programs they do a lot of overseas programs. Check that out too. And we're thinking about trying to partner with them in the spring, and maybe they haven't announced it yet, but maybe going somewhere in the spring with Living Sport. So I'll keep you guys updated on that if that happens. All right. Otherwise, appreciate you guys being on. And if there's anything else, anybody have anything else for the good of the order?
Oh, that distinguished speaker, is that a chat event?
No, so this is just a featured speaker for the Center of Sports Studies. So that's a good question. It's not. It is not a chat event. It may be, but I need to go through a few hoops to try to get that approved. But generally, yeah.
Okay.
All right, guys. Well, have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks.